This is just a live, talky sort of flavour of the flavour of your book, Who on Earth's Tom Baker, which has been serialised in one of the papers, so we've had a chance to read it. It's very moving in parts. I mean, you say that when your father came back from the war, and how long had he been overseas for? How long had he not seen your mother for? Ages.
Well, a long time, a couple of years maybe a bit more.
And when he arrived home and emptied his kit bag,
my mother,
you told me.
When my mother unravelled his dobie, his washing, as they used to say in those days, she found 2 years' letters unopened.
From her?
From her. She'd written to him every fortnight for 2 years. And he had never opened them. That's right.
How extraordinary.
It was extraordinary, yes.
Why? Do you think could it have been that he couldn't bear to be reminded of home, or...?
No, I think he was just bone idle. I don't know, he was an odd fellow. I mean, at least he could have slit them, couldn't he?
Yeah.
And she might have thought he'd read them.
But it seems odd that he brought them home, you see. That's why I think...
Yeah, no, that's right.
He
He really wasn't all that clever.
Was
I mean, he should have dumped them over the side. He'd been round the world twice.
But they then didn't speak to each other, did they?
She didn't speak to him again.
She didn't speak to him ever again?
No, not for 9 years.
Good God, but they didn't separate, they didn't
No,
split
they
up.
had nowhere to go, you see. And also, he didn't have a suitcase to take his things away. He was very poor, you know. Lots of the poor would stay together because they were too poor to part, really.
Yes.
And so then came the great drama of their lives, was how subtle and refined their methods of torturing each other could be. Like lots of people who want to stay together, they refine their torture of each other.
Yes.
And
were you a go-between if they weren't talking?
well, I was a go-between, but it was in an absurd way, because if he asked me to ask my mother what was for dinner, she was there. You know, so it was a bit of a black farce, really. So
you would literally then turn around?
She'd say, ask him what he wants for his supper. And he heard that. So I'd say, she wants to know what you want for your supper. And he'd say, ask her what she's got. And I'd say, he wants to know what you've got. And she'd say, liver and onions. And he'd say, tell her I hate it. It was dire.
Especially when they had a row, because you would have been the conduit of the argument as well.
Yeah, but mind you, I wasn't a child when that was happening.
No,
I was already a student and a student actor. So it wasn't bad. And also, you know, when you're an actor, you watch these things, and I thought, you know, maybe one day I'll be able to play him. And then I realized, now it's such an awful part, I'd much rather play my mother. Which is very likely nowadays.
So you weren't wounded by that?
Well, I mean, I hope I haven't given the impression that I was wounded, but
no.
I was sad for them, you know. I was sad that I remember when my mother was dying, and my father and mother died within a fortnight of each other, and when my mother was so ill that her hands were too wasted and sore to touch the counterpane, and I said, full of guilt and carting down a box of chocolates, hard centers, I suppose, knowing my lack of tact, and I said, is there anything you want? And she said, yes. I just want to outlive that old goat in the next room.
Jeez.
And she didn't, you know. And then when my brother went to see my father and told him the terrible news about my mother's death, he wept, you know, the tears, the wasted tears of 34 years or something. Wasted, yeah.
God.
Yeah.
It's one of the saddest stories I've ever heard.
Oh, no. But if you turn over, you know, I cheer up on the next page.